What's popping to YouTube? This is your boy Therese, and I am doing a review on The Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip Season 2, Episode 3. We left off with the ladies having a crazy night with Brandy still not being able to control her tongue and still offending the ladies and disrespecting them all in the same breath. The ladies go in town to their local stores to do a little shopping. They run into a crystal store, and then eventually the ladies separate and ended up going to get some Mary Jane. And of course, Eva leaving the pack. Since that was one of the things that she was very excited about this trip, and it was legal in the state. At least she brought it back to the place where everyone was staying at, and her and Brandy ended up getting a little lit. Vicky ended up going to an urgent care to go get seen, just to make sure it wasn't anything severe or that she needed a steroid. Eventually coming back to find out that it was just a sinus infection, and probably again her just going through a little depression because she is currently dealing with a breakup, which can honestly be a drag for someone like Vicky that honestly wasn't prepared for it mentally or emotionally or built for it. Meanwhile, back at the house, the ladies end up having a field day. And of course, like anyone probably would have expected Tamara to win, but it was Eva who took the win. Afterwards, the ladies, while getting ready for the evening, and Brandy confided in the ladies and just mentioned how Tamara was a lot more fun without Vicky being around, and a lot of the other ladies start kind of chiming in and kind of singing the same thing. And Phaedra was the only one who was like, no, I can't gauge a difference. Phaedra said, I'm gonna ride this fence until this show is over because I'm not adding any sauce into any of this craziness. Tamara walks up on the ladies talking about her, and it seems as if she kind of overheard them because she kind of asked them, what did she do? And eventually the ladies, well, not the ladies, Brandy stated, you know, you're more fun without Vicky being around. And Tamara took it very lighthearted, and, you know, she didn't get offended by it like most people probably would have. It just shows that her maturity level is amazing. Somewhere throughout the show, I just kind of started getting really into Phaedra's looks, like how we used to get into Cynthia's look from off The Real Housewives of Atlanta, how Cynthia always had different looks and a different wig to change the mood up. Like, honestly, Phaedra is giving me like the adult version of a Bratz doll. Like, she is killing it. Give it to me. Like, I love Phaedra's looks. Eventually, the ladies prepped their stomachs and their tongues for Dorinda and Brandy's lasagnas that they decided that they wanted to have some little like fun competition and see who lasagna was the best. Brandy made another attempt to apologize to Vicky, and Vicky nicely said to her, I'm just letting you know this is what you're not going to say to me. You're not going to curse at me, you're not going to disrespect me. And Brandy was like, well, I can't promise you that I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to do my best. And it just didn't fly over well. Eventually the ladies got it to kind of work itself out, and then they proceeded to focus on dinner, in which everyone could not help but notice that once again Dorinda had a fingering her food problem, which turned some of the ladies off. Dorinda's lasagna actually looked like it would be something that I would probably go to Olive Garden and sit down and eat, and they'll actually bring it on my plate. Brandy's lasagna kind of give me, my best friend cooked it and she invited me over to eat with her and her 3 kids while we watched the Housewives on her TV in the living room. Dorinda's lasagna was pretty light and cheesy. It looked like something that could be on a commercial. And Brandy's lasagna would just probably be something that I would probably have mine. Hers was really saucy, meaty, and just from how it looked, and had a nice dark layer of it that would basically ensure that it's a little crunchy or crust to the top. Like, I love mine. Either way I can go with mine, but I would prefer my middle to be like Dorinda's, like including her top where it was cheesy and all that, but then top layered with Brandy's. Unfortunately, I would have to go with Dorinda's help. The guy he was keeping an eye on, who was coming back for seconds, and it didn't sound like anyone was shooting back at Brandy, so I will probably have to go for Dorinda's since it was cheesy. and it didn't have as many things that Brandy's had in it, I probably would have, been a little afraid to taste it. And I'm not a huge spicy person either. So Dorinda's probably would have won over Brandy's. I tell you one thing, that if I didn't learn anything from this episode, one thing I learned is that Brandy is great at BJ's. She made it very known earlier in the episode when Dorinda was saying, you're a pretty young girl, but when you open your mouth, it's like, ha. And then I forgot exactly how she said it, but Brandy immediately says, does that mean I'm good at a blah, blah, blah? Because if so, then yeah, I am. And then eventually, when it was time for them to play games and whatnot, Brandy ended up taking out these huge blow-up penises and throwing it on her head and demonstrating to the women, like, sometimes you gotta cough to make them feel ah. And everybody was like, what is going on? Phaedra was like, what the hell is wrong with this girl? She even told the ladies that you gotta lick the little balls and even take your finger and push it up, your thumb and push it up. And the women were like, what are you talking about? And she was like, oh, in his butt. And so we know what Brandy does. She aims to please everybody's needs when it's time to come down to it. Everyone at this moment seemed to be having fun, throwing the rings on the blow-up penises. And then Dorinda ended up pulling out her card game for everyone to play. Started off really fun and light. Eventually, it was time for Kim to answer her question, which was, what is it about your father that disappointed you? While waiting for the answer, Brandy intervenes and starts saying, hey, national TV. And Dorinda turns around and look at her like, okay, why are you saying that? And Brandy's goal was to keep Kim from saying anything that may hurt her family's feelings, being the fact that it's going to air on TV. But immediately, same thing that I was thinking, Dorinda was like, what the hell? Like, it doesn't even have to be dark. It could be light. Like, he broke the vacuum one day when he was trying to vacuum, or I wanted him to get my dead goldfish out the fish tank and he wasn't able to and it got sucked up. Like, it could have been anything, but she immediately threw salt all over the game, which I kind of would have been pissed off too. Kim did not see it that way though. Kim saw it as Brandy doing her a favor while she was looking and mentally searching for something that could have disappointed her about her father. But same thing like Dorinda said, it did not have to go dark. It could have been lighthearted. Like, it's a freaking game. It was time for Eva to pull a card, and she was answering a question in regards of what, is it, I guess, that you don't like that your significant other do not understand about you? And she went on to just say that sometimes she has her hormones, and Brandy started, I guess, in her drunken state or tipsy state, she started just saying repeatedly, period, period, period. And then chimed in on how when she saw Eva's husband on FaceTime earlier taking care of their beautiful model children, Brandy stated that for a moment it seemed like he had a mangina, but then he came off, but everybody immediately got so offended by it. At the end of the day, what she was trying to technically say, it seemed like her husband was a bitch, but when she saw him on camera, it was like, oh my gosh, he's actually hot. He's not a punk, which is what she was ultimately trying to say. And then once she clearly offended Eva, her and Phaedra ended up having a conversation once Eva walked outside to cool off with Dorinda, and basically Phaedra was trying to gain some understanding on what was it that Brandy meant. And Brandy was like, in a relationship, usually I'm in charge of my men, and they usually go from having a dick to just having a vagina. The men are like usually controlled by her, and so she did not see that in that relationship, but that's what she meant. She was in a way calling him a bitch at first, and then backpedaled like a motherfucker out of that situation. As usual, another episode, Brandy put her foot in her mouth pissing other people off, insulting, offending, disrespecting, and rubbing them off all the wrong way. I keep wondering, is this ever going to get better for her? And I'm still not seeing it. But anywho, down at the bottom, you guys tell me, what did you guys think about the episode? Who lasagna looked better to you guys? And which one would you have preferred? And do you think that Brandy is really going to have a better trip anytime soon? Please comment, like, and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys later. Adios.